The small boy, what I'm about to tell you is one of the many paranormal things that happened to me in a time span of 11 years now. To give you some backstory, it all began in summer of 2004 when my grandparents moved in an old bungalow on a rather quiet island. It's not exactly an island as it's not in the ocean or something. It's rather just a small part of land that's completely surrounded by a river and has two bridges. One for entering and one for exiting, and there is also a sea which is public for bathing or camping. And of course my grandparents' bungalow. No other residents live there, just my grandparents. In winter and fall, it's pretty quiet there. Because no one is around except for a few cars that drive through. Literally translated, it's called Raven's Island. Sounds pretty made up, I know. So, to get back to the story. When they moved there, things started to get weird after some time. Objects started moving, things would get destroyed, you could hear voices when nobody was around or breathing, and you could also see shadows. Lots of other stuff happened and is still happening, but that's another story. I was around 5 at that time, I'm a female. You could now say I was just imagining, but since it's still occurring and I will be 18 soon, I would not say that that's the case. After a year my grandfather died of several cancer, but it had nothing to do with his death, since it started before his death. It's really hard to make this a shorter story since so many things happened, and it's such a long and compact story. To make it short, after 2 years, when things started to get even worse and the spirits became physical, we bought a Ouija board to communicate with them. We found out that there are 7 spirits living in my grandma's bungalow, 1 elderly woman, 3 men and 3 kids, one of them a girl. They even told us their names. Afterwards things started to calm down. Everything always happened at my grandma's and never at my house except once. Which is what I'm going to tell you because it still haunts me to this day, as it's something that happened in my room, my private place, and I never liked that idea, as I always thought that at home, these things would never happen. It was around 3 years later and I was 8 years old. After all this time you start to get kinda used to this, so it was not as creepy at my grandma's as it used to be, and since I visited her every weekend, it was a part of me too. It was around 10 p.m. that night and I was in my bed sleeping. As it was a school day, my little brother used to sneak into my room at night to steal my Game Boy, and I was always waking up to him sneaking through my games and telling him to get the fuck out and let me sleep. So I started to lock my door at night. At that night I woke up to someone making loud noises in my room. I thought I forgot to lock my door and that it was my brother again. My room was pretty big so I started to search for him, and I found him at my cabinet fumbling with his hand. I was not thinking about that as I was too angry with him being in my room again, so I started to loudly ask him what the fuck he was doing in my room again. But he ignored me and started to walk through my room, first to my window, then to the door, then he turned around to walk to circle, ignoring me the whole time I was yelling, as I was getting more and more angry, especially when I'm tired. I asked again and again what he was doing here and told him to leave, and was not thinking about all the weird movements he made. He then went to my TV and laid himself in front of it, stretching his arms and legs up in the air. I was so fed up at that time that I turned my little bedside lamp on and went to him to shove him outside. When I got there I realized that there was nobody. I was completely alone in my room. I then went to my door to check if it was locked. It was. So what the fuck just happened? Who was in my room? I ran to my bed and threw myself into it, observing every inch of my room from there. Nothing. I did not sleep that night, and I did not go to tell my parents either, as my room was at the end of the house, and I had to walk through a dark corridor, and that just was not what I was in the mood of doing. So I just sat there the whole night, lights on and thinking about every detail. I did not even stand up to turn my TV on. Maybe it was one of the boys from my grandma's or maybe not, I do not know, and I never asked. I also never felt a negative energy nor did I feel threatened. It was just the thing that it had never happened at my home before, and the fact that I was all alone, which creeped me out so much. This is 100% true and happened the exact same way as I have told you. If you want to read more about the things that happen at my grandma's, I'm happy to tell you, as there's so much interesting and terrifying stuff going on, and an interesting backstory. P.S. English is not my mother tongue, so if there are any mistakes, I'm sorry. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button to support my work. And as always, enjoy the fear, my dear.